Hello there, and welcome back. My name is Sean Reimer, I don't rhyme, and I received a copy of the Guinness Book of World Records 2011 for Christmas one year. Most likely in 2010. It sat on my bookshelf for a while until I got bored one day and flipped through it. Within the pages of that book was an entire section dedicated to a show I'd heard of, but never paid much attention to. Doctor Who. My relationship with Doctor Who is strained nowadays, but for a solid 7 or 8 years, it was my life. Especially, for some reason, the title sequence. I made so many of them over the years, which was how I got into VFX. And naturally, Doctor Who itself has had lots of them. So, today, let's rank them from most infuriating to least likely to be skipped when watching the show on a streaming platform. Number 16, Series 7B. Sure, this one looks all flashy and colorful and ooh, Matt Smith's face in the nebula, but don't let that fool you. These titles are the definition of lazy. It's oversaturated, both in its colors and its stuff on screen. Why is there a wolf drinking a cup of tea? What's with all the random jizz everywhere? And why is the ending so bad? The TARDIS doors opening to reveal the episode inside is a fun concept, but leave it to the BBC to cock it up. Seriously, it looks 2D. Combine that with a neuter Doctor Who theme, which I'll get into later on the list, and you've got the bottom of the barrel. Number 15, the 7th Doctor's titles. Okay, yes, these were the first fully CGI Doctor Who titles, but I'm just gonna say it. These are bad. See, Tron could get away with using primitive CGI because the characters were in a computer, but when you're trying to simulate reality in 1987, CGI isn't fully cooked yet. These meteors look terrible, the TARDIS is completely smooth, and you can see the individual particles on everything. I know it's 1987, but nothing here is aged well. The HowlRound and Starfield that came before it weren't as dated. Both of those styles also had better themes that didn't sound like elephant diarrhea. Number 14, Series 7A. Series 7 really didn't look good, huh? These are technically just an inferior version of the Series 5 and 6 titles with Instagram filters and simpler names. I don't mind adding more saturation and contrast to those titles, but this is overboard. The names are too simple and they don't interact with the lightning. And they completely nerfed the beautiful Doctor Who logo. The DW only works when it's in the logo, not as an afterthought. Having the logo take on the materials of the episode it's based on is a cool idea, but in execution it looks bad. Especially the wood one during the Wild West episode. Number 13, the 4th Doctor's titles. Number 2. These are the worst of the Starfield titles, and I'm not a fan of the Starfield in general. Compared to what they're doing before and after, it's too simple and it makes it seem like they want to appeal to the Star Wars and Star Trek crowd, which they probably did considering it's the 80s. The rest of the sequence is okay, if very 80s, aside from Tom Baker's face. Why does it look like he's passing a kidney stone? This can't be him smiling, I've seen him smile. My guess was this was in the same meeting where he was told he was being kicked off the show. Sorry Tom, you're being kicked off for being too controlling, and it's been 7 years of this shit. Oh, also, can we get a new photo of you for the titles? Number 12, the 5th Doctor. Repeat everything I said before, but now we have a better picture of the 5th Doctor. Although why he appears via an iMovie transition, I have no clue. Number 11, the 13th Doctor. I love John Smith's work. For those who don't know him, he's a great VFX YouTuber who found a way to modernize the HowlRound effect. His concept was so beautiful that the BBC brought him on to design the 13th Doctor's titles. And it's glorious. So, why is it so low on the list? Because nothing else in the sequence is good. I would have liked to have seen the TARDIS somewhere, or the names appear in a technique that isn't just atomic particles. The theme is boring too. It's just the regular theme with some slightly louder drums. Plus, as much as I like the HowlRound, I feel it would have been cool to see it morph into a vortex for the second half. I don't know, maybe it's just the lack of enjoyment of the 13th Doctor's era influencing my opinion of these titles, but as it sits, it's a tad boring. Number 10, the 6th Doctor. This is the best version of the Starfield titles. It adds some fun swirly things, Colin Baker's face looks great, and the logo is a nice looking purple, a color I wish Doctor Who would use more. But my favorite part is without a doubt the Dominic Glynn theme. I don't know what it is about it, but the lower pitch makes it sound so mysterious and wicked. I wish this theme stuck around longer than the Trial of the Time Lord arc, but it definitely left an impact. I wish I could say the same thing about Colin Baker's Regeneration, but I digress. Number 9, the Third Doctor's titles. Number 2. Yeah, let's just say it. Incorporating the Doctor's entire body into the titles is stupid. He's the Doctor, not a freaking genie. Plus, Jon Pertwee looks so smug. It's like he's judging me for eating too many jelly babies. It doesn't help that the outline of his body doesn't completely fill the frame either. But the big thing for me is that it just feels like an inferior version of the Fourth Doctor's titles after it, even though it does more. I guess in this case, it does too much. Number 8, the First Doctor. Ah, yes, the original title sequence. Imagine turning on the TV in 1963 and seeing this accompanied by this theme. This set the tone. It's simple, but it works. And honestly, black and white looks so good, monotone is always a plus. Number 7, the Third Doctor. Okay, so ignore what I said about monotone. Imagine turning on the TV in 1970 to watch The New Doctor and seeing all this color. Doctor Who went all out. And while it's quite 70s, it also hits your eyes harder than Jon Pertwee's fists. Number 6, the Second Doctor. In all seriousness though, monotone is my preferred look for the HowlRound. The Second Doctor's titles improve on the first by adding a face, more contrast, and by adding these accents to the theme, while also not cutting it short like they did later on. The theme also changes a note compared to the previous one. It's a subtle change, but Delia did an incredible job with tinkering with the iconic theme. Number 5, the Eighth Doctor. Speaking of iconic themes, this theme is perfect for a movie. Orchestra should do Doctor Who because it sounds epic. And starting with the middle 8 is such a cool twist. The visuals themselves look great too. Finally some CGI that looks good. And for the first time, a time vortex. It's a shame that the rest of the movie sucked ass despite Paul McGann's best efforts. Thank God Moffat gave him a good script for the 50th. But this intro definitely fooled people into thinking this film was going to be incredible. Although, I do love that TARDIS interior. Can we bring that back? Number 4. Oddly enough, the Fourth Doctor. Funny that the Fourth Doctor is number 4 on this list. When I think of classic Doctor Who, I think of this. I know Seth MacFarlane does too.
Man, hyperspace always looks so freaky.
Tom Baker looks great compared to the other title sequence. The TARDIS makes its title sequence debut, and this diamond time vortex is incredibly cool. Although, that dog tag logo, while serving its job well, does make you wonder how much they wanted K9 to be a thing. Number 3, the 9th and 10th Doctor. Where do I begin with this? I love it so much that it's hard to know what to mention first. The different colors of the vortexes and how they switch up as the TARDIS travels recklessly through them like it's on crack. These colors actually determine where in time the TARDIS is going, with blue representing the past and red representing the future. The 3D names that reflect the vortex and stretch towards the camera are really cool. The logo that comes spinning into frame. But most of all, I love the theme. By the way, you're going to be hearing the name Murray Gold a lot on this list, so get used to it. Murray Gold took the classic theme and added a counter melody called The Chase, which makes Delia's theme feel fast-paced to match the ludicrous speed of the vortex. The theme got even better in 2007 to match the titles now being in HD. It was the perfect sequence to mark Doctor Who's return. Although, why they made the theme out of sync for all those years after the first episode, I have no clue. It's sadly a running trend. As I shall now explain. Number 2, the 12th Doctor. When I first got into Doctor Who, I watched a ton of fan-made titles. My favorites include the likes of Neon Visual, John Smith, and of course, Billy Hanshaw. Billy created these incredible clockwork-style titles that were unlike anything I'd seen before. Myself and the community loved them. So did the BBC for that matter, because when it came time for the 12th Doctor, Billy's titles were the inspiration. I saw these on the big screen when I first saw Deep Breath in theaters, and I watched them over and over again. The cogs, the Escher-style clock face unraveling to reveal the vortex full of planets, the spine-chilling theme that sounds like a clock. It was beautiful in deep breath. So, naturally, the BBC decided to continually make it worse and worse every subsequent viewing. First, they added this stupid shockwave that doesn't even exit the frame. See a trend? Then they make the theme out of sync. Then they change the way the name of the episode appears. Then they cut out the cogs emerging from the smoke. And to top it all off, they add Instagram filters over it. Again. By Twice Upon a Time, I wanted these gone. And it's a shame because Billy's work was phenomenal. It still is phenomenal. He paved the way for artistic fans to have a place in creating the show. It's just a shame the BBC turned these titles into a hideous, oversaturated, and unsynchronized mess. I will never forgive them for that. Or for ruining Top Gear. Number 1. The 11th Doctor's titles. This will surprise no one who knows me well. These were my first titles way back in 2011 when I first started watching. And Doctor Who fans will always tell you that there's 2 Doctors who matter most to them. Their favorite Doctor and their first Doctor. And while Peter Capaldi is my favorite to watch, by a slim margin, Matt Smith's is my favorite to live. I tried styling my hair like him and dressing like him. I'd carry a sonic screwdriver in my tweed pocket and eat fish custard. His TARDIS was a wonderland of junk, and his titles? Iconic. Lightning hitting the TARDIS in a vortex of storm clouds is action-packed, and turning the vortex into a blinding fire is genius. The names reflecting the lightning, the TARDIS revealing itself like the popular girl in high school, the fanfare in Murray Gold's theme, all of it is brilliant. Except that BBC logo that they introduced in Series 6. Framestore made an amazing sequence. It's one that I want to do a proper remake of soon in Blender and HitFilm. And it's one that introduced so much of the world to Doctor Who, including me. Whenever I think of Doctor Who, before I think of the weird snacks and the bad CGI, I think of this sequence and the impact it had on my life and career. On that wonderful note, it's time to end. Thank you very much for watching. Good night.